Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then God so clothed the grass which is today in the field and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And seek not ye what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, neither be ye of doubtful mind. For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things. But rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. But where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
We're going to be lords. We're royalty. We're going to have the allodial title. We're going to have the rights of the land, of the home, of our wives, our children, our slaves, our properties, our cattle, so on and so forth. We're not going to be subjected to payments anymore.
Our sights are set a lot higher than this present world, right? As it is written, the fashion of this world shall pass away. We are individuals of vision. And the scripture said where an individual lacks vision, he perishes. Okay? So we can see the future, all right? And we hope that we're going to be part of it, beginning with the elect.
Psalms 37 and verse 11. And it reads, "But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace." That word for peace in the Hebrew is shalom, which goes into safety, soundness in body, meaning we're going to truly have rest, welfare, health, prosperity, peace, quiet, tranquility, contentment. So we're going to fully enjoy the planet Earth. We're going to rule and exist within the Lord's creation as we were created to do. I'm ready to rule the world, man. How about you?
Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessing, salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. All right, and what I want to get into this morning, dealing with morning news and prophecy. All right, another edition. And I want to get into this morning is dealing with Esau and how he's waging war on life. This devil, all right, is waging war on life itself. Okay, and we're gonna go into some precepts, all right, to set the tone, and then I have a video I want to go into, okay, because we know the devil, he's herding, everyone, all right, into, all right, a new world order, a new system, okay, and one of his tactics of herding people, okay, into this system is making them more dependent on him. Okay. And what the devil is doing, all right, he's creating, scarcity, all right, which creates fear. Okay, and when you're in a state of fear, all right, you can't think, all right, rationally. Okay. So he's creating this fear with these scarcities. And ultimately, over the years, over the decades, as he's, conditioned society, okay, to be grid dependent, okay, and less self-autonomous, all right, which is the ability to, for people to self-maintain themselves without, the help, okay, of the government, okay, or major corporation grids. You see, and as he's been able to take that away, from society, all right, he's been able to have more leverage and more control, to where he can turn off a switch, okay, and make people suffer. The devil, he can turn off certain subsidies and he can make food, unaffordable, okay, at the flip of a switch. He can stop assistance from going out, dealing with food and housing at the flip of a switch. Okay. He can destroy, okay, people, you know, uh, dealing with his electricity, okay, his power grid, okay, because people are so what dependent now, you know. So what the devil is doing, all right, he's just constantly getting people just more and more dependent, all right, which is going to give him the ability, okay, to control the masses, okay, at his will, you know, to herd them into this new world order. So when you go, let's get a few precepts. Let's go here to the book of Revelation, chapter 6, verse 4 says, "And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, man." Okay, and this is Esau and his rulership, and this man is a cruel Lord. You see, this is the nature of Esau, which we speak about, Trump being their cruel Lord in Isaiah 19:4, which there's no doubt that that's him. Okay. But overall, this is the nature of Esau, to be a cruel Lord. All right. Rome was very tyrannical. When you go into Rome, okay, and how Rome ruled over, its population, but Rome knew how to do what? To keep people entertained and pampered with convenience. They invested, okay, part of the wealth of Rome, all right, to pamper and distract the masses, okay, which that's what this beast system does today, especially here in America. They invest, okay, into pampering people and convenience to keep people distracted and dependent, okay. Meanwhile, while they will be taking peace from the earth, and they would do that to disguise, all right, their true tyranny, okay. It says, "And that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword," okay, which we know ultimately when the sword begins with his military, okay. But we have to understand with this devil, he's weaponized everything. Things that are supposed to be medicine, he has weaponized. Things that are supposed to be food, he has weaponized. Okay, entertainment, he's weaponized. He's weaponized everything. Okay, to create a culture of dysfunction, violence, okay, and death, man. Esau has turned the earth to a death camp. All right, and I want to go here because what we're going to focus on in this, yep, through Draco, yep, Draconian, yep. And this is the Greco-Roman Empire revived. All right. Now, I want to get this real quick in the book of Sirach 39, because we're going to, got a video on how this devil was at war with agriculture, man. Okay. Which are, when you go into the scriptures, when you go to the book of Sirach 39, and start here at 20. All right, Sirach 39 and 27 says, all these things are for good. Okay, matter of fact, 25 is the point. It says, for the good are good things created. Sirach 39 and 25. All right, from the beginning. Okay, so for the good are good things created from the beginning. So evil things for sinners. The principal things for the whole use of man's life are water, fire, iron, salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil, and clothing. And guess what? All these things, all right, are found on the farm. And see, the fact that people have to depend on the government to feed them, you know, not just people that's on the government existence, but this whole grocery store setup, all right, is off. Now we on it. We gotta do. We gotta do. We all dependent. Okay, but see, we understand that when this system goes down, all right, the Lord has provisions. Okay, and it's the Lord that provides every day anyway. You know, even within this system. Okay, see, we, all right, have come back to the realization that our power, okay, is the one that we're truly dependent on. Okay, because because this devil, he plans on starving people to accept his agenda. Government subsidies to afford groceries, man, because guess what? All these things, okay, the things are for the principal use of man: water, fire, iron, salt, flour, wheat, honey, milk, blood of the grape, okay, and oil and clothing. All these things, okay, could be produced, okay, on the man's property. You see, all these things, you know, could be produced, maintained, all right, and okay, enjoyed, okay, on an acre or two of land. You see, a half acre, really, you know, you can have, you know, you can have enough to provide for, you know, a small family. You see, but this devil, he has industrialized these things, okay, to where corporation, okay, is now over these things, okay, to where it gives him the leverage, okay. And it says, all these things are for good to the godly. So to the sinners, they are turned to evil, man. So he's turned these things into evil. Okay. And within this devil's, okay, system of mass producing these things, okay, he's been able to poison it. Okay. He's been able to water it down. Okay. So he turned things that the Lord created for the use of man. Okay, and he's turned these things into weapons, man. You know, you see, especially here in America, man, because America, you know, has the worst, okay, you know, food supply in the world. Okay, to where people that come here and they eat the things that they eat back at home, they eat here in America, and it does them bad, man. Okay, certain foods that are allowed in America are banned, you know, in other countries, man. Okay, so yeah, I got a video that's gonna go into it. Okay, or this devil, you know, he's just at war with life, you know, and at the end of the day, we just gotta get out of here. You see, because ain't no solution. You know, we do the best we can in the situation we in, but at the end of the day, we gotta get the hell out of here. This nigga gotta be stopped. Okay, so let's go to this video. All right, yeah, here you go. So let's play this.
Editor-in-Chief of Technocracy.news. Greetings. I'm Patrick Wood, editor-in-chief of Technocracy.news, author, among other things. I thank you for the opportunity to present a little bit of information about the war on food, the war on agriculture and farms and ranches all over the world, not just in America, although it's been happening a lot in America. Just a little bit about myself. I grew up on a farm in Northern California and on a ranch, half farm, half ranch. I did all the jobs that a young kid could do on a farm and a ranch, from hoeing weeds and digging weeds to running tractors and harvesters to punching cattle and doing roundups and branding and all that kind of stuff. I had a long history, a very long history dating back. And a little bit later in life, in my midlife, I was able to be in the farming business myself directly for some period of time. The guy in charge, so to speak. I didn't do that too long, but a few years. And so I have a pretty good connection to the land and to what's going on in agriculture around the world today. So I want to share a couple of those things with you. And I've just got a few minutes to explain this, but it's going to be, I think it's going to be somewhat worthwhile. My most recent book, The Evil Twins of Technocracy and Transhumanism, basically tells the story that that we face an enemy in the world today that is not political. This is not a political issue at all. This is another type of an enemy that we've never faced before in history. And this is a book that connects the dots for people. It's a very simple book to read.
And it's wickedness in high places. My brother want to post that Ephesians 6 and 12. You see, this is wickedness in high places, man. All right, this is a global agenda. Okay, it's a system. It's a new world order system that's anti-life, that's anti-human, man. Okay, and this devil, he's in control of many industries and entities in the world. All right, and he's getting ready to come at people from every angle. Like I say, psychological, agricultural, okay, militarily, all right, economical, you see, whatever you can think of, environmental, you see, as a brother can also put Micah chapter 2, verses 1, okay, and what's that, Micah 2, verses 1. Yeah, 1 and 2 would be cool. Yeah, just to hit the point. But this the brother beyond Yasha, Ephesians 6 and 12 said, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against the spiritual wickedness in high places." Okay, so people, all right, have no idea, okay, that they're constantly under attack. Like I say, psychologically, the music, entertainment, everything is weaponized against you. Okay, the food, okay, things that are supposed to be for your health and your benefit. Okay, these devils are tapped into demons, enchantments. See, people are enchanted. Okay, people don't understand the war that they're in. Okay, and this is why he has the ups on the masses. Okay, there's another one the brother got, Psalm 64 and 1, the brother beyond Yashala 144. It says, "Hear my voice, O power, in my prayer, preserve my life from fear," okay, of the enemy. Okay, verse 2, it says, "Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity," man. Okay, and these devils, okay, they have these secret counsels about, their next move and wickedness, and then they're able to what? To implement them because they're in control. Okay, they've been given control over all these different entities, man. Okay, all these different industries. You see, that's why this links up with, Micah 2 and 1. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds." All right, when the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hands. Okay, it is in the power of their hands. Okay, so they're able to create a curriculum. Look, we want to teach this in school. Okay, and they control, okay, the schools. the public school system so they can push that as curriculum to be taught, which we went into the other day, where they got these AI schools. Okay, well, guess what? There's a call from up top to implement those AI schools. Okay, if they want to put this in the food supply, well, they control the industries, all right, the mass production, the corporations of food. So let's put this in the food supply. Okay, if they want to do you know, what they call a scamdemic. Okay, well, they control media and, you know, the you know, the spittles. You know, you gotta be careful how you say, you know, the H spittles. They control these things. Okay, you know, the pharmaceutical industries. You know, they control these things, man. So they're able to implement their wickedness in society because they are in control. It's in the power of their hands. They control these entities, man. Okay, and people have no idea that they, all right, they're constantly, okay, at war, okay, with the powers that be, spiritual wickedness in high places, man. Okay, and they keep the people distracted, which that's a war tactic. Okay, yep, and we'll get verse 2 in a minute. All right, it's going to expound. He's going to expound on some more, but let's play it.
Read, I wrote it for people that are kind of coming out of the fog for the first time, looking around, thinking, how do we get to where we are? What's going on? Why are these forces, you know, chomping on us? Routinely, all the way across the line, I've had very good reviews from individuals about, you know, the content of my books and so on. The book right before that, my middle book was written in 2018, was Technocracy, The Hard Road to World Order. This was basically describing the journey that we've taken for the last 45, 50 years. That's how long I've been studying globalization, to see how we ended up today, where we are today. My book right before that, 2015, was Technocracy Rising, the Trojan Horse of Global Transformation. This was kind of the foundational book, the result of my original research that I did for several years, actually, to come to this point of understanding historic technocracy to the point where I could actually write about it. And so all three of my books now kind of form a trilogy. I'm not sure I'll write another book on technocracy, maybe, but right now what I have is pretty good, and it stands as a kind of the source, if you will, for all things technocracy and now transhumanism. Well, this leads us to this issue today, the war on food. In every one of my books, I talked to some extent about agriculture and how the wrenching transformation is taking place is affecting agriculture. But this is beyond this. We have a polycrisis, as I call it, a polycrisis of doom in the agricultural world going on right now. We have, for instance, we have a war on the land itself, where land is coming under attack. I'm going to show you a couple of headlines that make this point. We have a war on water, distinct from everything else, where water is being shut down for farmers around different places in the world. We have a war on fertilizer, which is, of course, the thing that helps crops grow. We have a war on seeds, the individual things of life that you have to plant in order to get crops. And we also have a war on animals, and that would include other things like fish and whatever, birds as well. But this war that we're facing is unmistakable at this point. If you look at these parts individually, you might not see the whole picture, but when you take them all together, you'll not only see the picture, it jumps out at you. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. It's amazing. This is the war on food. That means it's a war on humanity as well, because without food, we die. And this is a pretty scary prospect. I'm not going to get into it, but some of you historic scholars will remember back to a time in the last century called the Holodomor. It had to do with Ukraine, as a matter of fact, where the means of production of food was taken away from the farmers, and there was a massive famine that followed. This was an intentional policy that happened back then. It was a massive disaster that followed that, humanitarian disaster too. It was just absolutely incredible. So what I want to do for a few minutes is take you through just a few headlines that I have on technocracy.news, which is my primary website for professional things like this. and show you some of the things, just talk through them just a little bit to show you some of these things that we're dealing with. This is absolutely amazing. A couple of years ago in China, which I do believe China is a technocracy today. I realize many may disagree with me on this, but just follow along with me. China is an engineered economic system today. That was the heartbeat of technocracy originally back in the 1930s when it was created. But here we have a story that came out of Beijing. Very few people I ever saw commented on this story. It is no wonder. It's kind of a frightening prospect. But the story was, and this is it reflected my headline, their new urban agenda, that the Chinese government planned to move 100 million farmers into the cities by 2020, basically kicking them off their multi-generational land, kicking them out of the only profession they ever knew, and moving them into high-density, high-rise apartments, cities that were built basically empty. They called them ghost cities a few years ago, to send these people packing off the land and into these cities. Well, were they going to pay them money? Maybe a little bit just to get started in the city. But basically, they had no choice. 100 million farmers. That represented 12% of the rural population of the entire nation. That was huge. And so what the plan was for them was they'll be gone. And so we'll consolidate the land. We'll take it from them. That's what it means. We'll consolidate the land and create a factory farming situation where we'll have giant agricultural firms come in and grow the food on the land. Now, what's happened since then, I think maybe some of them did get transferred into the cities, but
And what we have to understand, China, is always going to be, ahead, of America, because they do a lot of New World Order. They implement a lot of things in China first. China, is the prototype, of New World Order agendas. Because if they can pull this off on, this such a big population, because you see China and India, they're at the forefront of New World Order policy, man. When it comes to digital ID, social credit score, okay, corporational farming, as we're seeing, there, 100 million farmers in China, forced out of their farms, okay, and into the cities, okay, for major corporation to take over farming, and they're doing this for control, okay. It's all about a complete system of control. All right, a system of complete control. This is what this whole digital thing is about. All right, and it's hard to control a population that can grow their own food. Okay, because that's going to be the number one leverage. Because part of the CHIP is what you can't buy or sell. Well, you don't need to buy and sell from this nigga if okay, you have your own food supply. Okay, because you think about it. When people are on here complaining about bills, what's the number one complaint that they have? Okay, when people are complaining about inflation, what's the number one thing that they're complaining about? Is they complain about inflation? It's food, because that's how they measure the inflation. Really, is the price of food. Okay, so what you're seeing is that big corporations, okay, are buying up all this farmland, forcing farmers to sell. Okay, what you see Bill Gates buying all this farmland in America. Okay, if they're getting ready for what? A corporate takeover of agriculture. Okay, which puts them in the driver's seat. Okay, of the masses, man. So when you matter of fact, the brother got some precept. Let's get that. All right, this is the brother. All right, Yahweh will and testament. Okay, Yahweh's will and testament. 2nd Ezra 15 and 46, and it says, "And thou, Asia, thou art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person." Because what we see in China, okay, that's what they want to do in the West. Okay, it's just China is ahead. Okay, but the elites, when you see these things happening It's the elite bankers that are behind this. Remember the wickedness in high places. Okay, because China has been under the authority of Britain, of the British for a while. You know, as we went into the video the other day, you know, dealing with the real D boys. All right, and these Edomites got rich off pumping opium, okay, into China. You know, and then China lost those opium wars, and that opened up the floodgates of these corporations to come into China, okay, and and take over, man. Okay, so China, the reason why they've been pumping money into China because China, okay, has been, you know, the prototype of what they want to do with the world. You want to see what the elite's next move is, look at China, okay, which is already on the digital, okay, ID system, a social credit system, a surveillance state, all right, and major, okay, corporations are in control of agriculture. Okay, it said, "Woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her, and hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers." All right, which, yep, it says which. Go back, slide. It says which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee. Okay, so we see China. You know, they've taken on, you know, Western policies. You know, they drunk it down, you know, the Babylonian, okay, wine, okay, more than any of these nations, man. Okay. And it says, "Thou hast followed her that is hated, and all her works and adventures thereof, said the Most High." Okay. Because Esau, you know, has turned China out, man. Okay. And that's why they send all those corporations, those American corporations, those Western corporations to China, you know, because they can get cheap labor, and China government is bought and paid for, man. Okay, by Western banks. You see, China market thrives off what, man? All right, Western consumerism. You see, verse 49, it says, "I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy house with destruction and death," man, because judgment is coming to you know, Asia as well, mainly you Moabites. Okay, but China is always going to be on the front line of what they want to do with the rest of the world. Okay, so you have, you know, this major, I say, corporate takeover of you know, food, just like the brother said, Monsanto, and he's gonna go into Monsanto at the end, you know, like the brother said, the Monsanto takeover, which is, you know, the major corporation of GMOs. All right, false crops, okay, fake food. You see, but he's gonna go in about Monsanto toward the end, man. And you gonna be like, God damn, you know. But let's let it play some more.
What's happened since then, China has pivoted to grow more and more food in greenhouses, giant, we're talking 100-acre, you know, hundreds by hundreds of acres of greenhouses that they're growing food in, sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 levels. And they're minimizing the necessity of using land to actually grow crops. But the farmers were not asked their opinion about leaving. They just simply said, "No, you're on your way out. You might as well, you know, get lost, and we don't need you here anymore." An incredible travesty of human, I don't know, whatever you'd call it, kindness. I'm not sure, but 100 million farmers, and that's their families too. That's more than 100 million. So you got children, you got your spouse, you may have other people in your family. Absolutely incredible. This shows you, from one nation's perspective, what the war on food and the war on agriculture is all about. Here's another one. This is an article. It's a little bit newer, but it has to do with Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka collapsed. The whole nation collapsed. If you didn't know this, it was a horrible situation. But the president of Sri Lanka picked up an idea from the United Nations that it would be a good idea to cut back on nitrogen.
All right, and we you know, brothers reported about the Sri Lanka, but I didn't know this was the root cause of the whole Sri Lanka, overthrowing their president. Okay, and it says he picked up the idea from the UN. No, they forced that nigga to do that. Okay, the devils, the earth is just one big lab to this nigga, man. Okay, but we reported on the Sri Lanka. Brothers reported on. I remember, brothers went into the collapse of Sri Lanka, but I didn't know this was the root cause of it when I was watching this, man. It went back to agriculture, man. But he's going to expound on it.
Based fertilizer for their farmers, because after all, it creates pollution and it does bad stuff to the atmosphere, they said. So he came back with a bright idea. Well, if cutting back 30% is okay, why did it just cut out all fertilizer? So he cut out fertilizer for all the farmers. Well, guess what happened? The food supply collapsed and people started starving to death, to the point where the whole nation collapsed, economically collapsed, and the people took to the streets. Ultimately, they stormed the Capitol, where the president's office was. They sent him packing. He fled the country in fear for his life because he has so destroyed his country, all because the president of that country decided that they didn't need fertilizer anymore. They just have to make do with less and be more responsible or whatever. What a stupid thing to do. But this is what we see all over the world. We see it in Holland, for instance. Dutch farm nightmare continues as government demands compulsory purchase of 3,000 farms. I think they've raised out now maybe to 4,000 or 5,000. But here's the tractorcade. These farmers knew that if their nitrogen-based fertilizer was cut back by 30%, which the government said they were going to do, those farmers are out of business. Their crop yields would be so low that they would be guaranteed to lose money every single crop they planted. So they said, we might as well make this the hill we die on. We might as well just shut the government down, shut everything down, and show people how serious this is and how stupid the government policy is to take away nitrogen-based fertilizer. Well, push came to shove, and the government said, yeah, we're just going to reduce the number of farms by that much too. So we're going to force you guys to sell to us and kick you off your land. So it kind of sounds like China, doesn't it? Just, we don't need you anymore out there on the land. Many of these farms were multi-generational farms as well. Not that the farmers were not bright enough to do something else. They probably were in a technological world. It's very technical these days, technological to run a farm of any size. Just imagine running those tractors. They're all electronic now. It takes a lot of skill to run them and keep them running, might add. But we see this pattern now everywhere. Canada has announced it's going to cut back fertilizers by 30%. The United States is working on policies right this second. As I cut this video for you, they're talking about it, cutting us back by 30% in America, because it causes global warming, and can't have that. So, deck with it. We don't need food. Who needs that nasty old food anyway? Just cut them back. Well, we're growing crickets and insects over here in this other factory where very efficient. They don't eat much, and their protein is just as good as that good old T-bone steak you'd have on the Barbie.
So, yeah, man, it's the same people that's doing this worldwide. All right, the elites. Okay, so you have this Dutch farmers, and there was a big thing about that. I think the Dutch, those farmers, they actually took their tractors, down to City Hall, but they're just buying up, 3,000 farms, generational farms are just being bought out and destroyed. Okay, and they're constantly doing this, and see, people are not feeling the effects yet, but it's a ripple effect, man. And when it hit, it's gonna hit. You see, and America, matter of fact, let's go here, and then we're gonna jump a little bit into, okay, what I was speaking on earlier. I think it should be here. Yep, I'm gonna jump back here. Okay, so before we go back into that, let's go here, because let's go here real quick, because this man is destroying the earth. Okay, And if a brother can post that in the second Ezra 15 as well, I think verses like 10 through 13, 11 through 13, you know, about, you know, the agriculture of Egypt, you know, failing. But when you go here real quick, so I asked the chat, you know, is drinkable water decreasing in the earth? Okay. And it says short answer, yes. Okay. It says drinkable fresh water is decreasing in many parts of the world. Here's why. Fresh water supplies are limited. Only about 2.5% of the earth, all right, water is fresh water, and most of it is locked in glaciers, ice caps, or deep on the ground. The amount of fresh water on earth doesn't really change, but the usable portion does. Okay? It says pollution is reducing drinkable water. Industrial, all right, waste, agricultural runoff, sewage, and plastic pollution contaminate, all right, contaminate rivers, lake, and groundwater, making once safe water unsafe to drink. Okay, so who's responsible for this, man? Okay, for polluting the earth, man. Esau, Edom. Okay, so this man, drinkable water is declining in the earth, man, under the devil. That's why the scriptures say no flesh shall be saved, man. Okay, this man is running the planet Earth into the ground. Okay, as we speak. All right, and then he pops up with no remorse, you know, as if he has, you know, through technology, he's gonna fix everything and enhance everything, man. Okay. It said pollution is reducing drinkable water. It said overuse, all right, and depletion. It says groundwater is being pumped faster than it can naturally recharge. Rivers are being diverted for agricultural and cities. And what about the data centers? Here it is, because data centers use fresh water. They use drinkable water. You see, to keep those computers cool. Some major lakes and rivers have significantly shrunk, like the Aral Sea. Okay, let me see. Does data centers, okay, use, let's see, drinkable water? Let's see. Yep, there you go. All right, it says yes, many data centers do use drinkable, potable water, but not always. Okay. Oh boy, just threw this BS in the game. Come on, get out the way. All right. Yeah, do that sometime. Just open up another one. Nigga ask the same question. So like it real quick. Let me open this up. Sometime chat do that. I don't know, do we do that with y'all brothers sometime? You know, on chat. And just throw up that, you know, thing in the way you can't even see. All right. So let's just ask it again. Does data centers, okay, use drinkable water? Oh yeah, ask another one. And how many data centers are projected to be built in the next 10 years? How many data centers are projected to be built in, I said, the next 5 years? So let's see. Pull this other one up. All right, it says, great question. Short answer, yes. Many data centers, okay, many data centers use drinkable, potable water in their cooling system. And yes, a lot more data centers are expected to be built in the next several years. all right, through projection. Though projections vary, here's a breakdown. All right, it said, do data centers use drinkable water? It says source of water. Many data centers draw water from uh, municipal, all right, municipal regional water, municipal, so like municipal regional water utilities, which is typically potable, drinkable water. Some data centers also use non-potable, recycled water, gray water, reclaimed water for cooling or other operations, but in many cases, this is still a relatively small portion. The water is often used in cooling systems like evaporative cooling towers to absorb the heat generated by servers. After absorbing heat, some of the water is recirculated in a loop to be used again, but not all water returns perfectly. In evaporative systems, some evaporates, which counts as consumed water. Over time, water quality may degrade. Over time, water quality may degrade. So a data center is just another way that this nigga destroys the earth, man. Okay? It's a war on life. Okay, this man is anti-life. It said mineral buildup, conductivity, so systems periodically need to replace a portion of water. Okay? So this man is just, depleting resources, man. Okay, to feed into, his wicked system. Okay, this man is just anti-life, and there's plenty more. All right, uh, 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 data centers that he plans, okay, to build. Okay, now it says current and projected data center numbers. It says according to ABI research, by the end of 2025, there will be around 6,000. All right, 111 public data centers. All right, and it says that same source projects 8,000. So basically another 2,100, 2,200 data centers in operations by 2030. That suggests a substantial growth in the next 5 years. All right. So yeah, man, this is terrible, man. This nigga got to be stopped. Okay, you know. But while everybody is hoping, for a $2,000 check, man, this nigga destroying the earth. But then he mentioned a $2,000 check, and then people just are appeased. Okay, so I just looked up farmer suffering on YouTube. Okay, and look at just all these videos of American farmers. This is America's latest farming crisis. Okay, high cost tariffs hammering U.S. farmers. Okay, it says it's a fire alarm. All right, fire for our industry. Soybean farmer on tariff struggles. U.S. farmers in tears. Crops rotting in fields. Is American agriculture collapsing? Okay. It says not in a good place. Why American farmers are struggling. I just looked up farmer suffering. Look at all these videos. American farmers are going broke and their farms are at risk. Okay. Soybean farmers face steep losses. The true cost of Trump's tariffs, American farmers speak out. Okay, we've got a real disasters, farmers struggle amid rising Trump tariffs, man. Okay, but then like I say, he'll say, "Well, y'all get a $2,000 dividend check because we care so much, okay, about the American people." Okay, goddamn devil, man. Okay, so let's see this brother. Yeah, brother put that up. Yep. So this is the book of Second Ezra 15 and 12. It said, Egypt shall mourn, and the foundations of it shall be smitten with the plague and the punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. All right, this from the brother Beyond Yashala. Okay, and this is what we're seeing. And see, Esau is a plague himself. So the Lord is just allowing this devil free range to destroy, because this is part of judgment. Okay. It says, All right. Verse 13 said, they that till the ground shall mourn, their seed shall fail through the blasting of hell with a fearful consolation. Woe to the world, all right, and them that dwell therein. Okay. So this devil, all right, is sabotaging American agriculture, man. But it's the will of the Lord. All right, because the Lord wants famine, all right, and suffering, okay, in America, man. Okay, and he's using these devils, all right, these elites to bring it about. All right, but it's all the will of the Lord. Now I want to jump back because the brother had mentioned Monsanto earlier, so I want to play the last few minutes of this video. Then we get a few more precepts. All right, but let's go here. Okay.
Case will go extinct in short order. What kind of insanity are these people thinking? The war on food, the war on humanity is absolutely unmistakable. And let me just give you one last thing here. Poison the earth. Monsanto's glyphosate found in 80% of U.S. urine samples. Now, this is just scratching the surface of this whole issue.
Poison of the earth. Monsanto's glyphosate found in 80% of U.S. urine samples. 8 out of 10 people have this in their system. Okay, 8 out of 10 people, man. This is crazy work. Let's see, what is that? Monsanto. What the hell is this? All right, glyphosate. Okay. Look this up, man. But 80% is crazy work. Okay. Let's see, what is it? I'm gonna let it play while I'm looking this up.
But we know now through studies that have been done, Monsanto's glyphosate weed killer, that if you spray it on their crops that are glyphosate resistant because of genetic modification, the plant won't die, but the weeds will. That's the theory. And they have sold so much glyphosate all over the world to complement their seeds that farmers have to buy from them, genetically modified seeds. They license, every farmer that plants their seeds has to pay royalties back to Monsanto for using their seeds. That's what ownership over genetic material is all about. So they pay Monsanto a royalty, and then they turn around, they have to buy the glyphosate from Monsanto to spray on their fields to kill the weeds and not kill the plants. Otherwise, other herbicides kill the plant too. So the world has sprayed so much glyphosate, that's called Roundup, by the way, that's the generic name. So much of this has been sold in the world on an annual basis that the world cannot break it down fast enough. In other words, it does degrade, but not as fast as they're putting it on the fields. So now you have basically the entire planet has been affected by glyphosate. This is part of the war on food. You know, they said originally that they were going to help farmers, they were going to help food supply, they were going to, like the United Nations says, they're going to eliminate hunger. That's one of the 17 development goals that the United Nations put out. They're going to eliminate hunger. Oh, that's the wonderful thought. Poverty too, but wonderful thinking. But then companies like Monsanto come along, and they were participants way back when all this stuff was created. They weren't talking about really helping humanity at all. They were talking about rape, pillage, and plunder of humanity, more likely than not. And they have. They've modified virtually every seed crop there is now on the planet. They charge farmers to lease it back from them or license it back from them. And then they put them in a position where they have to buy glyphosate and basically poison the soil and poison the plants to some extent, to the extent now where 80% of urine samples in the United States have some trace of glyphosate in them. This is a war that we never intended to fight, I have to say. Nobody had a clue that we're going to fight this war that we're fighting today. The war on food, on land, on water, on fertilizer, on seeds, on animals, and it's going from bad to worse. If we do not stop this madness,
And only the Lord can stop it, man. Only the Lord, all right, can stop it. If a brother can post it, no flesh shall be saved, but for the elect's sake. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna post this. Brothers wanna jump on it. All right. So I'll put this video in the chat. And I've been just following a lot of Patrick Wood. He got some because he's been, going hard on technocracy for the last, few decades. So he has a lot of intel. So yeah, we're gonna pick his brain and see, what this devil got going on. All right, the scriptures say, "Be not ignorant in the small, okay, matter of great." Okay, so this is Brother Yahweh's will and testament. Sirach 14:5 is that he that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods, man. All right, and this devil, he destroys the earth, that he has to live on. All right, because the devil has no access to no other habitation but the earth. Okay, and he destroys it. Okay, and attempts to pull off, showing you that the wisdom of wickedness is not wisdom. All right, the knowledge of wickedness is not true wisdom. Brother can post that. So Rock 19-22. Okay, but if this man would do this to the earth, who can he do good by? Okay, all these promises, that he's going to continue to make as he hurries people into this new world order. If this nigga doesn't even take care of the earth that he habitates, if he doesn't even take care of his own habitation, who the hell can he do good to? Okay, this is the brother Yahweh's will and testament, Revelation 11:18. It says, "And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead they shall be judged, and thou shalt give reward unto thy servants the prophets, okay, and to the saints, all right, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shall destroy them which destroy the earth," man. Okay, so it's going to be the Lord is going to intervene to stop this devil, man. Okay, the righteous judgment has to come from another realm. Okay, to get things in order, man, because this devil, all right, has taken things, so far left. Okay, yeah, destroyed so much and plans on destroying more that the Lord has to intervene. Okay, a higher power has to come to this earth and intervene and judge this man. Okay, there's a book of Matthew 24:22. This is from the brother Bayan Yashala 144. And it says, "Except those days, all right, should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, these days shall be shortened," showing you that the Lord is going to intervene. All right, on behalf of the elect. Okay, he's going to destroy this devil, which destroys the earth. All right, and the reward, which is rulership. And see, this is why the earth need righteous rulership. Okay, a brother can put that Sirach, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6:24. We can end on that one. All right, and this is what we're being groomed up and conditioned for, to be joint heirs with Yahushua, to rule in righteousness, man. The earth needs righteous rulership. Okay, this rulership has taught us how not to be. Okay, as rulers, the Lord has given us a crash course, okay, of how not to rule 101 under Esau Edom, man. Okay, because everything from the beginning was created with a purpose, and it just has to be managed. Okay, not only does he mismanage, but he tampers and interferes with things, and then just throws everything off course. Okay, this is so the brother posted it, dealing with glyphosate, which that's the active ingredient in Roundup and herbicides. Okay, And it said, yes, glyphosate may be harmful to humans as it has been linked to increased cancer risks and health issues like irritation, neurotoxicity, which is your mind. Okay. It says an endocrine disruption. All right. It said the Eternal Agency. Let me see. He probably cut it off. But yeah, man, you know damn well it's harmful. You know, and then I looked it up on the chat and they were trying to see whether they got conflicting studies and nigga, you know this shit harmful. Okay? Come on. Okay? Yep, it's all part of his depopulation agenda as well. Okay? Yep. So let's get this. Just a brother Bayan Yashala. All right. And it says Sirach 10 and 10. It said the physician, which is Yahweh Shah, cut it off a long disease, and he that is today a king, tomorrow shall die. All right. And Esau has just been a disease, okay, that's been unleashed in the earth, man. And what this man, has presented to the world, as wisdom, okay, has been death. This man presented death as wisdom. Okay. All right, this is a brother Yahweh's will and testament, Sirach 19 and 22. The knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, neither any time the counsel of sinners prudence, man. So this man, all right, is not operating on true wisdom. Okay, it's wicked. Okay, it's destructive. It causes dysfunction, man, and it has a major ripple effect in the earth, man. When this man presents death as transcendent, he's goddamn dealt what the Bible speaks of, man. Okay. So let's end here. This is brother Yahweh, Wisdom Solomon, chapter 6, verse 24 said, but the multitude of the wise is the welfare of the world, and a wise king is the upholding of his people, man. Okay, and that wise king, okay, is going to be Yahweh Shai. Okay, and Lord will, we're joint heirs, with our wise king Yahweh Shai, man, as we continue to fight, in this kingdom, to endure to the end, to be joint heirs, with our king, man, Yahweh Shai, big bro, So that's the point, just wanted to tap into that, something I was watching yesterday. Nah, that nigga don't got it, bro. That nigga do not got it. Okay. I'm not impressed by anything Esau got going on. This nigga ain't got it, man. Okay. So Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. And give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations, hopefully, shalom.